Let's do it. Goz On The Go, all the sports talk you need from the week in 40 minutes or less. Before we get into this week's episode, we got to tell you about the people that make the podcast possible. Mohawk Honda. Thursday, so you might be listening to this on a Thursday. Thursday, 4 to 5:30, Levac and I will be live on location in Glenville, New York at Mohawk Honda. There for the Plate Change Challenge. Watch some of your favorite personalities from Mohawk Honda compete to show off who's the best. Make sure to follow Mohawk Honda on their social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, to see the family at Mohawk Honda compete. We love using that word family, right? The Harridan family helping people here in upstate New York and the capital region for decades, finding their new vehicle, getting you into the ride that you absolutely love. And maybe you're listening outside of the capital region, you don't know about Mohawk Honda. Get to Glenville, New York. If you're looking for inventory, you're looking for people that you can trust during the car buying experience, it's Mohawk Honda. I'm looking out my driveway. You've heard the podcast before. You know the 2022 Pilot EXL's out there. Unfortunately, it's covered in snow, but that's okay. I got the snow covered. Well, snow drive, wheels, vehicle, all good to go. Don't have to worry about that stuff in my Pilot EXL. Do the same for yourself. Upgrade your vehicle. Join us, Mohawk Honda, 4 to 5:30. Watch it on across their platforms and more. Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy. The spring is officially here, and it's never too late to get that preseason pricing on a new furnace, a new boiler for your home, whatever you're looking for. Some of you thought the winter was over, and maybe at these final few days here in the winter, right? When does it actually flip over? I don't know, daylight savings time, whatever it might be. I see snow, so I assume it's still the winter, right? Johnstone Supply in Troy can help you. Call them today, 518-272-5922. 518-272-5922. Johnstone Supply in Troy can help you make those changes that you need in your home to make sure you're safe. John Goodman Furnace, 2% off. You just say that. Godzilla Media, that's a discount for you. Getting there with Goz On The Go, here, wherever. John Goodman Furnace, you walk into 6th Avenue in Troy, you say it, 2% off. Simple and easy as that. And 6th Avenue in Troy, if you're getting ready for those spring projects, maybe those winter months are behind you, Milwaukee Tools, guaranteed the best prices you can find on those things when you need those tools in your back pocket to make it happen. Boiler, furnace, great people. Shout out to George, Tom, Kev, James, everybody over there. 6th Avenue in Troy, helping you here in upstate New York. It is Johnstone Supply in Troy. Check them out on Facebook as well for daily updates and more. Johnstone Supply in Troy. All right, let's do it. Let's get into this week's episode. Goz On The Go. Depending on when you're listening to this, Buddy Boeheim's the story. We're just hours away, whether you're listening, driving into work here on a Thursday or right in the afternoon. Noon tip-off, Syracuse Duke. Buddy Boeheim will not take the floor for Syracuse. If you missed it, Buddy Boeheim threw a punch in the Florida State game. And even that statement alone, if you didn't watch the game, you're like, threw a punch? What is it, Meta World Peace? Is he the brawl at Auburn Hills, the malice at the palace? Buddy Boeheim? Syracuse won by 40. They did. But the replay showed, and thanks to the great world we live in social media, Buddy Boeheim, after a bucket, swings, hits the Florida State kid in the chest. No technical, no flagrant, nothing during the game, but Boeheim still gets suspended. Usually this is a time where I'd rally against social media and say the takes are too hot, it's ridiculous. Social media got this right. When they pulled up the clip of Duke Clemson and the kid gets absolutely decked and almost got seriously injured, that kid got a game. But on the floor, during the action of Florida State Syracuse, the officials, the referees didn't call anything. No foul, no tech, no flagrant. So now you're telling me the ACC's reviewed it and thought, you know what? That dunk from earlier in the season where the kid was up in the air, he's got his legs cut underneath and he could have broke his shoulder, his elbow concussed, missed the entire season, been seriously injured. That play, that dirty play, is the same as Buddy Boeheim throwing a punch. It's not. Doesn't make sense. The crime doesn't fit the punishment. If you've said this is the standard for a one-game suspension, how is this thing a one-game suspension? And this isn't Syracuse bias. This is across the Florida State kid admitted it. Jay Billis admitted it, who's on the call for the game. Leonard Hamilton admitted it, the coach from Florida State. So you've got all these people on Buddy Boeheim's side, but yet the ACC wanted to spend them for what? To be good to Coach K? Coach K doesn't need any more help here. Duke's great. Duke smashed Syracuse. To make this controversy the storyline of the game? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Buddy Boeheim, whether he played For Syracuse against Duke or not, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference. Maybe Syracuse is still going to crush in this match against the Blue Devils. But how can the ACC look at that and say, you know what, 1-game suspension? So what's going to happen next? If the officials miss a call in the court, are we going to run back and run back games? Oh, we actually missed that 4th foul in the center. We got to run back the game. Toe was on the line 12 minutes to go in the first half. It was a 1-point game. We missed it, so let's reset the score and do overtime. That's the problem. We actually went back and changed history. And if you want to be a Syracuse fan and get pissed off about it, you can, because that's what they did. They went back and said, yeah, the referees didn't call it a tech or a personal foul or anything else, but we're not going to suspend the kid for a game. And that's going to be the end of his college career. They're going to get beat by Duke. That's the end of it. That's how we're going to remember the last thing of Buddy Boeheim. Syracuse fan, if you want to feel cheated about conference tournaments, you can. Because whether it's way back in 2010 when that's the best Syracuse team, including the 2003 championship team, the 2010 Syracuse team, Arenzo Nwaku gets injured. 2020 Syracuse upsets North Carolina. They might have a chance in the tournament to make a run. COVID hits. Hell, I could probably do like 3 or 4 more of these where Syracuse fan feels like they got cheated because of a conference tournament or an injury or something else. And now this ends it. This becomes the headline. Syracuse basketball doesn't get Buddy Boeheim. It's a horrible way for him to end his career. You add this plus the struggles of Syracuse, the legacy of Buddy Boeheim, a kid who was the best, one of the early. Go back and listen to it. Give me the views, the clicks, everything else. Go back to the March 2021 Goz On The Go after the first week of the NCAA tournament where I said Buddy Boeheim was playing on the same level as Carmelo Anthony. I'll stick by that. And now this is how it ends 1 year later. All right, other March Madness news. Who are you rooting for here in New York? Who are you rooting for in the Empire State? UAlbany gets bounced in their conference tournament, so the Great Danes will not be qualifying. The future of Dwayne Killings and what that means for UAlbany. We've covered it on a bunch of different podcasts. Go back, just search UAlbany. We'll see if he can recruit. Should he have ever even been the head coach? Should he ever been signed? Those are all good questions, and I think fair questions to ask. Colgate's in. Shout out to the Red Raiders. They're back in the NCAA tournament. They smashed Syracuse earlier this season. They struggled. They win the Patriot League. Colgate almost beat Tennessee a few years ago, so there's your New York rooting interest. And we've got the Siena Saints. How about the action? A little maction with that extra A if you're used to that during the college football season. We get the upset of Marist as a 6 seed. Now the 11 seed, Quinnipiac, is going to take on Siena. We see Iona go down to Rider, so Rick Pitino's squad will not win the conference tournament. Anthony Gaines gets injured for Siena, so one of the top players on the team. It is madness. It lives up to the cliche and everything else, but Siena has a chance. 7 9-point victories over Quinnipiac earlier this season. They have a chance for that Friday night game in Atlantic City where the Saints fans travel better than any other fan base in the MAC, and we get that. So there you go, New York sports fans. There's your hope. Siena, 15 seed, 16 seed, a New York team to root for. There's your squad this year. The Saints, Coach Carmen, everybody has an opportunity to make a run at Atlantic City. Now, when we're taping this on a Wednesday night, we haven't found that Cinderella Conference tournament team yet. Hell, you want to talk about the great stories of March Madness that happens here in championship week. What was it, Georgetown? Patrick Ewing last year? Where they decided, and shout out to my guy Kevin Sweeney, former intern, now Sports Illustrated writer, who noticed that a secret contract was given to Ewing, but they made a run last year. They became the Cinderella. They sucked this year. What time is it? 10:16 and Georgetown still sucks? Nice. That's good. All right, got that in. Remember the Georgia team from years ago where the flood happens during the SEC tournament? Hell, 2006, Jerry McNamara. We can run through the teams that stole bids and became darlings of March Madness and Championship Week. The Chattanooga Mocs might already be that team. Jameer Nelson Jr. of Delaware. We'll see a top power school, maybe Boston College, who's in the quarterfinals, make a run through this thing. That's what I love to see. The teams that had no chance. This is why Championship Week is so great. It doesn't dilute the regular season. You give every team an opportunity to finish it off. You compete. You play at the highest level you can. And you go for that final bid in March Madness. Championship Week is just as good as the NCAA tournament. Yeah, you might not be wagered as much, or hell, now with mobile sports betting, you might be. The games, the action, the competition, the season on the line with every single play. Championship Week is here. Hopefully we find that darling, but right now, for upstate New York fans, that darling might be Siena. I'll own a pick when I'm wrong. I'm just surprised Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay. It was just constant for years, like, oh, they don't give you the weapons I deserve, and I can be somewhere better, and I know I'm really good, but this is the end. It's the swan song. It's the last dance. We'll go on social media and talk about it. I was fully convinced that the Green Bay Packers had had enough of Aaron Rodgers. And maybe if Jordan Love was a good enough quarterback, they would have done it already. They already would have moved on. Maybe if Aaron Rodgers didn't win the MVP, they would have moved on. But last season, Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP again. He shows he's the best arguable player in football, regardless of position. And Green Bay comes back and signs him to a $200 million deal, the highest paid NFL player in history. Now, will it benefit the Green Bay Packers? I think that's a fair question to ask. Rodgers is heading into his 40s, drafted in 2005, 22 years old. So start doing the math there, right? Late 30s, 4 years. He's going to try to pull a Brady at this point and be that good of a player. And hell, after Tom Brady's performance, maybe he can be. And maybe you're just at the point where you can't get rid of the NFL's MVP. But the constant look at me, give me all the attention, blah, blah, blah. Are we ever going to see the fans turn on Rodgers? Are we ever going to see the lap of, hey, man, I know you told us how great you were. We gave you all this money. Now it's all on you, and you're still not performing and getting us to a Super Bowl and winning the championship and everything else? Because Aaron Rodgers has not progressed to that next step since his previous Super Bowl win. Green Bay hasn't played in a Super Bowl since. Does it change the NFC? For sure, right? Like, if you wonder about the Green Bay Packers and what they could do, they right now could be considered the favorite to win the conference, even with the Rams and everybody else. Devontae Adams and his future franchise tag. What's the future of Aaron Jones? Will more receivers come in? All great questions. I was just so done with the Rodgers antics. Even when he signs the $200 million deal. Pat McAfee, his buddy, comes out and says, it's official, Rodgers is signed. Shout out to McAfee, demanding he gets the credit for the story. I'm cool with that. You got it first? Whatever. No one ever remembers this stuff, but if you want to defend your turf, cool. I don't care. It's fine. Do what you want. But then, like, Rodgers coming out and saying, hey, by the way, maybe all the details aren't exactly right because Russell Wilson found his way into the news too. Classic Rodgers. I'm not rooting for Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I got a lot of Packer fans who are my buddies of mine are like, I'm not rooting for him. Sorry, Chris Honorado. I'm not rooting for the Packers. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan anymore. I don't need the constant nonsense because all of a sudden they play bad. You're going to get a weird press conference and you're going to hear like this. Charles Barkley said it best. Levac's been saying it for a while about Odell Beckham Jr., right? He's the pretty girl who constantly every single day needs to be told he's pretty. That's it. I'm not rooting for Rodgers. I already brought up Russell Wilson. Let's keep rolling with this. Let's keep the graphic up there. We'll flip it over from Rodgers to the NFL. Russell Wilson's now a Denver Bronco. What do we think about this move, huh? Let me know at Tom Goz, TOMGOZZ on Twitter. Goz, Goz at GozOnTheMedia.com. You want to let me know? I want to hear like wide-ranging feel on Bronco fans because if you live in Albany or upstate New York or around the Northeast, you might feel different than Colorado and Denver. If you understand the tradition, the history of the Broncos, you get this though. Like Denver has been truly one of the most stable professional sports franchises over the last 50 years, and that's not an over-exaggeration. Now, with the ownership changing and the Bolins, the stability, that word might not be the best way to describe the Broncos, but you bring in Russell Wilson. Denver looked around and said, what can we do to be competitive? What can we do to be that standard again in the AFC? And hell, in the AFC West. And I know it happens with every single trade in the NFL when it involves high draft picks. People will claim Seattle's the winner because they got all these picks. Well, you got to actually use them. You got to actually get better. You got to win games with these picks. Denver looked and saw Patrick Mahomes there for a decade. They looked at the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Hell, the Raiders were a playoff team with Carr and new coaches on the way. Denver looked at their division and said, we have to be aggressive, we have to make a move, and we have to be a contender again for our fan base. Our fan base is pissed off of how we treated them. Our fan base does not believe this is Bronco football. Let's go out and get Russell Wilson. Now, the strength of Russell Wilson is that even if the Broncos' offensive line isn't that great, he can make plays. Mobile quarterback, super accurate, so he's been able to do that. I don't feel like he's a quarterback that's a system guy either, right? Like, when you think about a system quarterback, Pete Carroll's a really good coach. Because of the USC stuff, he should be a Hall of Fame college coach, and maybe we view that differently. Hell, if he retires this year, which doesn't seem to be the report coming out of Seattle, actually might coach longer, could be the discussion as a professional football Hall of Fame head coach. So we'll find out if it's Carroll versus Wilson, and that storyline is not being brought out as much. Why is that? Well, sometimes you just want to side with the athlete over the coach, especially if he's a remarkable athlete like Russell Wilson was able to do to change the course of the Seahawk franchise. But Denver fan, you can get super excited about it. Because imagine you didn't have Wilson, and that's how you should view it if you're a Bronco fan, and that's how you should view it for whatever NFL team you root for. What if we didn't have him? What if Denver didn't have Wilson? Who's the quarterback? Drew Lock? Kenny Pickett? Baker Mayfield? Who's the quarterback? I just went full Cowherd right there. That actually wasn't a bad Cowherd impression. Who would have been the quarterback? So now you get Russell Wilson. You feel like your franchise is moving in the right way. Players want to play with him, have production and everything else, and that's what you want. Whether it's defensive side of the football, offensive side, you get players that want to go to the roster, contribute, bring guys along who can help the team, the morale, the locker room, all that stuff that we can't really analytic-wise define how much of a win or loss that is, but we know that a franchise feels better about it when they have a quarterback that can make plays when it matters. Now for Seattle, everyone's screaming, trade DK Metcalf, trade Tyler Lockett. Bobby Wagner was cut today. I look at the Metcalf situation and say, if you've got a young quarterback in there, you got to give the guy something to rely on, something to improve with. Now, whether that quarterback is the names we just said, right? Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, we'll find out. But if you feel like that quarterback's your future, give him something to have success with, and Seattle might do that. Seattle's got a long way to go, though. Maybe it's 2023 that Seattle's got the top pick because that division's loaded. Arizona playoff team, the Niners a victory away from beating the Super Bowl, and the Rams won the Super Bowl. So Seattle's got a way to go, but what a hell of a run it was out there in the Pacific Northwest. But for Wilson going to Denver makes it more exciting. The Broncos are, like we said, a nationally known franchise, a successful franchise, and the fan base gets what they want. And we don't have to hear the storyline week after week here coming in the summer about whether or not Wilson wants to get traded. Off to Denver he goes, and it makes the NFL more exciting in 2022. I didn't miss the Carson Wentz thing either. I could talk about Carson Wentz here. I'm going to save that for our Mohawk Honda show. We'll talk more about that later on. And if you want to hear some great Carson Wentz takes, sports with a Z and a T, in sports with a Z and a T, Gonzalo Media. You've got the Eagles fan, Bryce Zielinski. You've got the Colts fan, Taylor Lattimore. That's, if you want to hear Carson Wentz and Eagles and Colts talk, and if you're a Washington Commander fan, that's the podcast to get that stuff. Those guys will do it better than me. Hat tip to them. Go check that out next week for sure when they respond to that story. Let's talk Major League Baseball here. Nothing. We got no updates. I'm watching Max Scherzer tweets. I'm watching John Heyman, Jeff Passan, where we're moving on baseball. I'm going to keep this quick because I'm watching this in real time. This is wild to actually feel this difference between traditional media and non-traditional media. Baseball in certain markets is super popular. We know this, right? Like from St. Louis to Kansas City to New York, Boston. There are certain markets that really care about baseball. And when I moved out from Syracuse to Albany, I felt Albany was unique with that there was such a feeling for the Yankees, and the Yankees was the team. And that's no disrespect to you, Albany or Siena or Union or anybody else. I could feel their reaction on the phones. I could see the ratings, the numbers. I believed it was the Yankees, and maybe that's still the case. When we get into more Yankee talk here on the non-traditional platform, maybe those numbers will reflect that. But like this talk right here, lockout and changing the game and the shift and everything, nobody wants to hear about it. Like nobody wants to hear about it because they just want baseball. So that's why I got to make sure I'm concise. And I got another 30 seconds on this, but the shift, stop. I know you're trying to make it more competitive. I heard a great argument from Levac about it. I just, who are you satisfying with this, with the shift situation? The bigger bases, I'm trying with these ideas for baseball. I'm willing to hear them, but I don't know if it gets to the core issue and all right, guys, what would you fix? I'm told you I'm with less games. Expanded playoffs or less games, one of those two, but you can't do both. Figure it out. Figure it out, owners. If you want more playoff games, great. Shrink the regular season, awesome. But baseball, man, the scary part, and I didn't think this was going to happen, I'm watching it real time. Fans who are sports fans starting to lose interest in the sport. That when we have conversations like we just did about the NFL and March Madness, we got wrestling coming up, we got wagers coming up. Baseball, if we had to re-rank this podcast, what topic you like the best and the worst, you're probably going to put baseball at the bottom. And that's the scary part. How long are they going to sit in the C block? How long are they going to move to the bottom of the bracket, if we want to do that, pun intended here, when it comes to sports talk conversation with your friends, your family, and more? I can't get enough of this Ben Simmons stuff. I can't. I think the Ben Simmons, the fact that he is not playing on March 10th, the fact that when you're listening to this podcast that Ben Simmons is not playing as a member of the Brooklyn Nets against the Philadelphia 76ers is laughable. It's hilarious. I hope that later today, on this Thursday, we get coverage across the national media about how dumb this is. Like, the hype that was around this game was supposed to be LeBron going back to Cleveland, but with more hate. Even though the Ohio fans were pissed off about how LeBron treated them for the decision and everything else, he was still an Ohio guy. He still helped Cleveland and St. Vincent St. Mary High School have success. Ben Simmons had no connection to Philly. That connection is not as strong. So we could have really seen it. Somebody going back to a team they stabbed, right? We could have seen a Johnny Damon as a Yankee going back to Fenway and getting booed. We could have seen Brett Favre as a member of the Vikings. We could have felt that again in sports and had a great time with it. And hell, Trae Young, even though he plays for the Hawks, has become the best villain in sports when he goes to the Garden. But Ben Simmons has faked his mental health, and that's an accusation I know is strong. But what is the evidence that he has had mental health issues? Just because he said so, that's good enough? Was he stone cold? Just because he said so, huh? Okay. I don't really buy that. Now he's injured for what? Like, is it his back? Is it his knee? Watch how he miraculously gets better in like a week and he starts to play. Brooklyn stinks, by the way. They're terrible, and it's awesome. I finally, one more time got to watch them burn, and it's been great. But I wanted the sports moment to happen. I wanted him to go back. So what's going to happen next? I heard the rumors out there when we're talking that he actually might just sit on the bench, let them boo him when he's on the bench, put him on the Jumbotron, I can use the term the Titantron, let Philly boo him, and that's it. He's going to eventually play against the Sixers again. He's going to always be absent. Is there anything more Gen Z? Anything more Gen Z than avoiding issues because you can? Just not going to websites that talk about different opinions than you, taking classes that you don't make yourself better, only going to certain websites that feed your information. Nothing more Gen Z than that. And if you don't want to face a problem, you don't have to. Ben Simmons, man. Another one you can add to the list of athletes I'm not rooting for, but I wanted to see it for the entertainment purpose of the NBA to watch a guy get booed. And someone's like, Goz, what is up with like you wanting a player to fail? It's not about wanting a player to fail or had the hatred flow through him like we've seen some athletes, like it was that Darth Vader at that point. But this is still a form of entertainment, right? Like that's the core of this. The reason you flip on a basketball game, baseball, football is you're entertained, whether by the athletic prowess, whether it's a regional team, a connection, a family, whatever it might be, rooting for interest of those teams to represent who you are and your region you're from, all that. Like that's a part of sports. So when you can tell a non-sports fan and feed them a storyline like we're about to have, and have people tune in who are not even NBA fans, that's what we could have got with Ben Simmons. I'm bummed we're not getting it, man. I really wanted to see that happen. We got our wagering graphic up here on the visual side, and you're probably wondering why are you using that here like way before the weekend wagers. We'll get to them in a second. The hot streak will hopefully spread to you guys. But I got to talk about Calvin Ridley. Another NFL story here. The wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons suspended for a year for wagering on NFL games. And his social media rants a little too strong. Social media announcements. Yeah, we'll roll with that. Just decided to go to social media and say he only bet 1,500. He doesn't have a gambling problem. That's a weird B right on that. Gambling problem. And then going back and forth with people talking about taking L's. The whole thing is bizarre. We just got off the Ben Simmons story, right? Calvin Ridley steps away from Atlanta for mental health issues, and we really haven't gotten enough details because of privacy of what's going on with Calvin Ridley. And if you go back earlier before the suspension came down, it looked like Ridley knew with some weird subliminal tweets that the suspension was coming. I am bizarrely, yeah, we'll go with that. Bizarrely shocked at the lack of rational thinking from sports fans on this story. All right, I am. So a lot of sports fans have yelled out this opinion. Well, in the NFL, you can beat your girlfriend or your wife and only get 4 games or 8 games. But if you bet on the sport, you get a season. How does that make any sense? Wow, the NFL's partners with gambling leagues, and they're going to punish a guy who gambles on the games more than someone who beats their... Whoa! Like, why don't we jump to that one? Where did this come from? Is that like domestic violence and wager on sports is on the same platform? Like, that is not apples and apples, man. It's not oranges and orange. Why are we comparing those two? And I've said this from way back in the Ray Rice days. Like, so what do you think is the perfect suspension? Life, a season, anything more than 4, if you do anything more than 4, that's like a really, talking about wagering here, when you minus 500,000 to 1. Yeah, everyone agrees with that. No one's going to come on here and say domestic violence is good. Like, why did it have to jump to that? How did people just like lose the idea of, like, okay, if I'm a Falcon fan and I like rooting for the Atlanta Falcons, and I find out one of the players on the team is taking a dive, I would stop rooting for them instantly. I would. Like, if I found out Syracuse basketball players, we'll use college. I know it's a little different from pros, but we'll just use college for a second. If I knew the college players were taking a dive, I wouldn't be committed to Syracuse like I would before. And people would be like, "Gosh, how could you? You're a born and raised Syracuse fan." But like, the players don't want to win. Why do I find myself rooting for them? Now, professional sports is a little different because some teams are rebuilding, and the plot before the season is that this team is not going to be good, not because of the effort on the field or not because they're taking dives during the games. It's just that's how pro sports work. Not everybody's going to win every single season for cap and everything else. That's a little different. But to know that somebody would have done that can ruin the integrity of the sport you watch forever. How do people not understand that? Now, people look back at Pete Rose and be like, well, Pete Rose bet on the Reds and he's banned for life, but Calvin Ridley only got a year. Okay, Pete Rose was the manager of the Reds. So he could have wagered on the game and then pulled a pitcher, pulled a hitter, won his bet, and benefited financially from it. And that would hurt baseball. I know the video that's out there with Emmanuel Acho, and then people are ripping him because it's like Ridley's running backwards trying to make guys miss, so they're trying to accuse him of blowing games and stuff, like a Paul Cruz situation. No, this is not the shaving points scandal at Arizona State. You can go watch that on Netflix. Yes, Calvin Ridley should be suspended for a year. What's someone, honestly, what do you think the punishment should be? 4 games. So you think a guy should get 4 games for betting on the league that he can come back in 2 months and then take a dive? No. What a lifetime ban? Hell, if someone told me Calvin Ridley was banned for life from the NFL and had to appeal, I can get with that. Seriously. I can get with him being banned for life. Why not? So now we know the guy wagered on football and we think he's not going to do it again. Josh Gordon smoked pot like 1,000 times and he got back in the league. So you think a guy who's committed a crime before won't do it again? How good was he at betting? It's not surprising to me that a professional or college athlete may get caught in the future doing this again. Swagoo, Marcus Spears, SportsCenter hit 6 o'clock with Schefter. I'm sure ESPN was not thrilled with this, but like Swagoo gets on there and says, let me keep it real. We know professional athletes are doing this, but they're smarter about how they do it. And I'm sure Schefter, you can go back and watch the cut if you want. Kevin Nagandi is like, maybe not now. Maybe not the 6 o'clock SportsCenter. We should accuse athletes of wagering on games that they play in. Maybe at another time. And it's a huge accusation that he made. Now, did he mean that Calvin Ridley might have wagered on a Buccaneer-Panther game? I don't know. But trust me when I say this, whether it's Russian soccer or hockey or sports across Europe or anything you watch, if the moment creeps into your mind that the sport event is rigged, cheating, it will plague the sport for the rest of its existence. Hell. NBA fans still accuse the sport of cheating because of the Tim Donaghy Kings-Lakers series, and boy, that footage on YouTube doesn't help them. I'm sure there are some people in the NFL that look at the best storyline possible every year, whether it was the Giants-Patriots Super Bowl that could have happened, that everything's rigged for Tom Brady, and accuse that professional sport of being rigged. In baseball, Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs breaking the curse, storylines, everything else, cheating, steroids. People are going to accuse everybody of doing cheating and changing the game and everything else, and that cannot get shaken off easy. So good for the NFL for suspending Calvin Ridley. Relax if you're a fan trying to rationalize athletes who play professional sports being allowed to bet on themselves and their team, because it's not comparable to domestic violence. And hopefully for the future, those athletes who might consider to do this, this is the warning shot. This is the year suspension if you try doing this. This isn't a be smarter about it. It's like, just don't do it. I used to have a coach, right? I coached Mike Craig, Hobart College, at the Great Line. When players started getting arrested 3 weeks in a row, he'd say, just put the goddamn beer down. There's one at the next party. I swear to God, if you go to a party, you put the beer down, you get one at the next party, there will be another beer. Don't walk around with an open container. I swear to you, if you're a professional athlete or a college athlete, mobile sports betting will be there when you're done. Casinos will be open when you finish. Just wait. It's going to be there. It's not worth losing $11 million over an 18 parlay like Calvin Ridley did. What can we say about the WWE and AEW? AEW pay-per-view was great. Same thing. Don't want to beat a dead horse. If you love AEW, it's your thing. It's wildly entertaining. Love it. Crowds into it. Matches are great. Entertaining. High-risk moves. That's AEW. Storyline's wonderful. Are there some botches? Yep. Is it traditional wrestling? Nope. The tag matches in particular, I love my favorite quote. These use the Hardy Boys about this and the Young Bucks. Are there spot monkey-like moves where it has no sense of the match, but it's somebody just jumping off a balcony, a table through a table, and blah, blah, blah? Yeah. A lot of it is just straight up. It makes no psychological sense. It has no storytelling. It's just people being absolute maniacs and doing it. But it's entertaining. That's it. Hangman Page wins. Good match. I thought Britt Baker was going to lose the women's title. Maybe we get another match with her and Thunder Rosa. Britt Baker can be fine without the women's championship. Thunder Rosa would be pretty cool. That was the only complaint there. We might get some really good matches in the future, but overall, I would rewatch the pay-per-view. Best compliment I can give. Entertaining as hell, blood, exciting, really good wrestling, awesome pay-per-view, AEW Revolution. WWE side, WrestleMania card continues to look good. I like the Edge stuff. The AJ Styles match is looking really cool. People got way too excited about the Kevin Owens Stone Cold thing. I thought it was really well by WWE. Save it for the last segment. Get people all jacked up on social media. The Stone Cold promo is really cool. WrestleMania is going to be really good. So WrestleMania, the path there is set up nice. The Becky Lynch stuff with Bianca Belair gets more interesting because I can't tell if Becky really busted up her voice box or not. It's good, man. Great time to be a pro wrestling fan. AEW Revolution, fantastic. WWE's Road to WrestleMania is great. We still got questions about when Cody Rhodes, if ever, shows up to the WWE. Jeff Hardy just debuted on Dynamite. Great time to be a pro wrestling fan. Grab a beer, order your favorite food, sit back and enjoy it. Not a lot of criticisms here. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, like I like to say, you can still enjoy the stuff that's going on here. Good for the WWE, good for AEW. Before we get into our weekend wagers, just some quick shout-outs for our partners. Next week, all brackets, all Goz On The Go. It's going to be the Godzilla Media Bracket Special. You can watch it live Wednesday night on YouTube. About 9 o'clock, we're going to start that to a late live show, Godzilla Media's Bracket Breakdown. If you miss it, the replay is going to be here on Goz On The Go, the audio side. All our guys from Godzilla Media are going to be hoping to attend and give their picks on the big NCAA tournament, sponsored by Hooters. I know we got Jared Lozier's face up here. Hooters is our sponsor for the Bracket Challenge this year. If you want to join, it's in the information on our audio side and our video side. Just scroll down. You can sign up for the bracket right now. I'll continue to call her out. Lindsay, where's our graphic? I want a cool graphic to promote March Madness. I want my graphic, and who knows, maybe I'll switch back and add in the graphic after this. Hooters bringing you March Madness. For Godzilla Media, we're going to be broadcasting there on the second day of the round of 64, Friday, 5:30 to 7 o'clock. And by we, backing out, 5:30 to 7, Hooters, March Madness. All right, Jared Lozier's face is still there. Northeastern Insurance. Love this guy, man. Saving you cash, home, car, small business, whatever's important to you in your life. How's your quote? Are you getting the right quotes? Are you paying the right price? It's so simple. An email or a call. That's it. Free quote. You're going to feel so much better, like going to the gym, like flossing. Jared Lozier is the flossing of money. How about that, Jared? 518-956-3753. 518-956-3753. Or email him. Just write, save me money. Quote. It will make me so happy. Or listen on your phone right now, pause and be like, all right, what's this guy's email? JAREDL@nemail.com. Title it, Can You Actually Save Me Money? I'm sick of guys telling me about you. JAREDL@nemail.com. It's Jared Lozier, Northeastern Insurance. And our friends over at Lily and David Fine Jewelers, located at their new spot, the Shoppes of Wilton. So we talked about the wedding band sale this past weekend. And now you prepping for a wedding. What are you doing? Well, still stopping at Lily and David Fine Jewelers, Shoppes of Wilton, and find out about some of the things that you can get her, your fiance, right? Maybe you don't like your wedding band. Maybe she's not your fiance and somebody got engaged in your family or your friend group, and you're ready to make that move from girlfriend to fiance. You got to buy the engagement ring. That's where I had gone just a few years ago, and the staff there at Lily and David Fine Jewelers helped me. I love sharing my story, walking in there sweating and having no idea what to do. But the staff there helped me pick out a ring that my wife continues to get compliments now to this day. Trust me, you want to work with people like Alyssa, David, Jacob, everybody in there. The selection's awesome at the Shoppes of Wilton. They will help you find exactly what she wants so you get the compliments for nailing that great gift. Engagement rings, wedding bands. Hell, you got a birthday coming up, a holiday for somebody who's important for you. Maybe it's an anniversary. Get in front of it. Go there. Spend a few minutes with the staff. You're going to know why I love them and love talking about them. It's Lily and David Fine Jewelers, located at their new spot, the Shoppes of Wilton, off of Route 50. When you head in there, tell me you heard about it from Goz. This podcast right here, Goz On The Media, Goz's story, right here on Goz On The Media. All right, weekend wagers. Let's get into the picks. I am hot. I'm on fire. 6-0 the past 2 weeks on NBA picks. 8-3 this season on NBA picks. The pressure's on. I'm saying this before I give out my picks. Because we have a live show at Mohawk Honda, 4 to 5:30, I want you to tune into that show because I have an opportunity, like I rarely ever do, to change my picks. So there's a chance these change. 5:15 we'll do the picks. They might change. All right. Now that I've hedged my own bet, let's get into these picks. 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday. 2 on Friday. I like the Grizzlies at home against the Knicks. That line's probably going to be around, 6.5 for the Grizz, 7.5. Those games where Ja Morant has a big market, even though the game's in Memphis, he knows if he has a monster game against the Knicks, it's going to be talked about on SportsCenter, steal the highlights, right? We're about just a few years away, 3 years ago, when Ja Morant had the triple-double in the March Madness in the round of 64 out in Buffalo. Ja Morant steps up, has a monster game against the Knicks on Friday night. So I like the Grizzlies to win big, double digits in that game against the Knicks. Rockets, Mavericks. Houston is terrible. But Dallas has a game Sunday against Boston where they can basically coast. Houston's at home, Friday night, rivalry within Texas, like 9.5. I think like the Rockets are going to be like a 14-point dog. Rockets keep it within single digits. So I'll take the Rockets. I'll take the Grizzlies. And then on Saturday night, we get the Warriors and we get the Bucks. 250, 245 over. I will take the over in that game. It's going to be like a football over where the number is going to open. It's going to be so stupid of how high it is. But I don't care. Like Milwaukee is putting up points 142, 132 in their last 2 victories against Oklahoma City and Phoenix. Golden State can't defend point guards. The point guards are putting up these huge fantasy numbers in Golden State. Remember them? Oh, yeah. 112. They let up 131, 124, 122, 129. Points. Give me the over in Milwaukee and Golden State. So one more time on Saturday night, over in the ABC primetime game. Could be an NBA Finals preview. Warriors, Bucks over. Friday night, give me the Rockets with the points. And give me the Grizzlies with the points. All right, those are the picks. We're not going to do wagers on pro sports for another 2 weeks. Next week, the bracket special here on Goz On The Go with the Goz On The Media guys joining us. March Madness, man. Enjoy it. Talk to you again next week. And hell, some of you are going to come back to Mohawk Honda on Thursday and hear the picks. See if they